Shalom, and welcome to the weekend edition of the Daily Dose of Hebrew, where we continue our work in Jeremiah chapter 6. You may recall in verse 4 that the prophet Jeremiah had put words, so to speak, in the mouths of the Babylonian armies and soldiers as they headed toward Jerusalem to begin the siege of the city. And though they would obviously be speaking a different language, we were hearing what they would be thinking, what they would be saying to one another. And we saw that as they came to attack the city in verse 4, they were almost frustrated, and they said, "Woe to us." Well, why woe to them, the soldiers? Well, because the day was already getting on. It was already into the afternoon, and the evening shadows were starting to grow long, and they were frustrated because of that. Well, we're going to see what those same soldiers would continue to say now in verse 5, and what they're going to propose. Just a short verse. Let's go ahead and read it in Hebrew as we had started. Kumu v'ne'aleh v'layla v'nashchita armenoteha. So they start with kumu, which is exactly what we saw in verse 4. So once again, we have an imperative. This is a 2MP cal from the verb kum. So arise, literally get up. Let's get, well, not let's get up, but you get up, arise, and let us go up. Again, this is simply a vav conjunctive. If you remember, we saw the exact same structure in verse 4. So this would be an imperfect, by the form, it's an imperfect with the nun at the front, first common plural, cal, from the verb ala. And but again, coming after this imperative 2MP over here to a first common plural imperfect over here, this almost has sort of a cohortative sort of a sense to it. And again, the three hey verbs don't usually have a separate cohortative ending. So we could translate it, arise and let's go up. We can't go up because it's already getting later on in the day. Well, let us go up by the night, or in the night. So here we have a bait with the article that's underneath with the Pathak and the Dagshan, night. So the armies of ancient Middle Near East didn't usually attack by night, but in this case they're going to. So let's go up by night if we can't do it in the daytime. They are so anxious to get on with this work. And here we have a straight-out cohortative. Now it's a big, long word, but what do we have? We have a nun at the beginning. We have a hey at the end. Okay, so with the nun at the beginning, this is going to make this a cohortative because of the ending we're going to see at the end, and that does fit the context right through here. So it's a cohortative. It's going to be a first common plural, and this is going to be a hifil from the verb with these three consonants here, shachat, shachat. And I'm going to put this in parentheses because it's not used in the cal at all. It's usually used in the sometimes in the nifal, but usually in the hifil, which means to ruin or to destroy. So this would be with the cohortative here, and this is clearly a cohortative, as I said. And let us destroy armenoteha. So with the suffix on the end, and armon is it's actually a masculine noun. Armon, which would actually end here with a final nun. That means a citadel or a palace. It takes a feminine type of ending with an ot. Then you add, of course, your yod when you add a suffix onto it for a plural noun over here. So this is a suffix. This is a 3 fs suffix referring back, obviously, to the city of Jerusalem. Let us destroy her palaces, her citadels, her fortified places, so to speak. So the Babylonians are not going to allow themselves to be intimidated by the fact that the day is already declining, that it's almost nighttime. They'll go up by night and get this work done. When God calls the army of Babylon to do his will against his own people, they are going to do it, whether they realize they're God's instrument or not. So let's go ahead and hide our work and look at a couple translations. First of all, in the ESV, most of the translations are pretty straightforward. Arise, here with kumu, and let us attack. This is literally let us go up, but contextually going up against the city is obviously the sense of nuance of attacking by night, by the night, but by night works fine. And destroy, and let us destroy her palaces. No problem there, pretty straightforward. The Net Bible which you find on the internet, obviously, tends to elaborate that just a little bit. So come on, so they're picking up this idea, they're adding it in interpretively, even though you have to pick up the context from verse 4, even though it's almost nighttime, let's go ahead and attack it by night and destroy all of its fortified buildings. So just a little bit of a development over the ESV. And then one more to get a bigger picture. I actually went back to Eugene Peterson's The Message and picked up verse 4 and 5. So this would be verse 4 over here in this first part over here. Oh, then, prepare to attack. The fight is on. To arms, we'll strike it at noon. Oh, it's too late. See, this is the end of verse 4. Oh, it's too late. Day is dying. Evening shadows are upon us. Well, they're not questions in the text, but that's sort of the objection where the people said, woe to us. Well, here we go into verse 5 now. Well, up anyway. We're not going to let that stop us. We're going to arise and let us go up. We'll attack by night and tear apart her defenses stone by stone. A little bit of an elaboration on this verb here, but it certainly is the right idea. And seeing how these verses fit together, I think the Message really does have the right idea. And we're not going to let anything stop us. The protocols of night or the dangers of attacking at night, that's not going to be a hindrance here. Once God's judgment is underway, human decisions, human protocol is not going to stop it. God will see his purposes through. Well, it's a scary sentence that the Lord brings against his people. We'll check back with us soon as we continue working through Jeremiah chapter 6 in our weekend edition of the Daily Dose of Hebrew. Shalom.